Hi everyone, my name's Anne-Marie. Welcome to this card making project. In this project we're going to make a gorgeous card using lots of Anna Griffin goodies. We're going to use some of them in a slightly different way to show you that you don't have to use them as they are. Everything I do use, there'll be a full detailed description on my blog. If you've ever got any comments, head on over to Facebook. You can always comment on there. I've had a few issues with YouTube, so we're just going to stick to Facebook for now for comments. If you're desperate to get in touch with me, you can always contact me through my blog. So the first thing that we're going to need is my base card. Now this is a 6x6 inch card in ivory. I'll show you how it looks on our cardometer, and this will give you an idea at home of the size of card that I'm using. So it's a nice size, it's not too big and not too small, not over daunting. So that's our card base. Now the first thing that I'm going to do, as always, is use my bone folder to make a good sharp edge along the side. Now the card that we're using, most times people would use a card like that, but we're going to use it like that today, something a little bit different. So we're going to start off, as always, and we're going to make the inside. Now I've already taken a piece of ivory paper that nearly matches my card blank, but it's not exact. I'm not hung up on the fact that it's not exact, because, you know, people look at your creativity, they're not looking at how everything matches. The card that I've actually picked, I've sized it just slightly smaller than the actual card at either side. However, it is as long as the card, if that makes sense. I've gently tapped an ink pad along the edge of the ivory insert, and that's a good trick for anybody using cardstock that doesn't match perfectly and they've got a thing about it has to match. If you tap an ink pad along the edge, it breaks up, it breaks the eye from thinking, oh, that doesn't flow, if you've got anybody that thinks like that. I don't, I just look and think, oh, how beautiful, you've done such a good job. So I've stamped it using one of Anna's flip card stamps, because, you know, when we made the flip card last year, and we've got those gorgeous stamps, we don't have to just use them for the flip cards, we can use them for anything. Let's, you know, get them used because they're so beautiful. So the next thing that I've got is one of Anna's Ornate frame dies. I've cut it out using some of Anna's anniversary cardstock, and I know that was from a while ago, but again, if you're a hoarder, maybe like me, and you hoard lots of different things, you'll have this in your stash. So, you know, there was enough in the kit to use some and keep some still for the stroking. So we're going to start using lots of bits that we've got. I've got double-sided tape on the back of it, and I know you're saying, but Anne-Marie, that's a 6x6 inch card, and you're using an Ornate frame die that is for a 7x5 inch card. And I'm going to say, yes, I know exactly what you're saying. So we're going to add the die frame to the centre of the card, and the overlap that we've got at the bottom we're going to trim away. So I'm just checking that you can see me trim it away like that. There we go. So that is the inside of our card, and I would say that is just so pretty. We're using the frame for a different size that it's meant to be used, but it still looks great. The stamp that I used a rainbow stamp effect, so I used two of Anna's ink pads. The pink I ran through the middle of the stamp, and then the olive green I used at both ends, and that just makes it tone in so well. So now we're going to do the outside, and I'm just going to use my bone folder again to make sure I've got a good sharp score along that edge. The first thing I've got is a layer of cardstock for the centre of the card, and this again was from Anna's anniversary papers. Oops. And you can see my cheat arrow on the back of it, just to help me so I know which way up it's got to go. Because you know, when you're filming and you're thinking, oh, I've got this to do and I've got that to do, and you just stick it down, it's so easy to then think, oh, I've put that on upside down. So I'll put my little cheat arrow on. So that's my first layer. Now you'll see that I've cut it purposely to have these edges blank, but it fits the top and the bottom. I've not made a mistake there. I've done that. That is on purpose. So next, again, what we're going to do is we've got the ornate frame, and I've got double-sided tape on the back of it, and we're going to add this, and I'm going to position it so that the top of the frame is at the top of the card through the centre, like so. And then again, we're going to trim the excess away at the bottom, like we did for the inside. So I'll just take my scissors and trim this away. And this, I think, is making your frames and your dies work a little bit harder for you, because normally you would think you could only use it on a 7x5 card or an A5 card, or in America it would be an A3. But for this, you're using it in an alternative manner, and it's going to look so pretty when it's done, and nobody would know. Okay, so the next layer that I've got, in the centre of the ornate frames, you also get some layered dies as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one of the layers through the centre like so. Again, this is the same paper that we used at the front from the anniversary collection. And then I've got another layer here with double-sided foam on the back of it. And again, this is from the anniversary collection, and it's the same that we used on the centre for the frame. I've then got one of the favourite sentiment stickers, and you simply peel the back of these away like so, and I'm going to stick that through the centre of the previous layer like that. And then I've got some of the floral stickers from Anna. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply peel these away from the carrier sheet that they're on, and I'm going to add these to the front of my card. And I'm just thinking, where should we pop them? Should we pop them there or there? I think one there, and we'll have one to the opposite side. You simply peel them off like that. There we go. And these match perfectly to the little rose that's also on the sentiment sticker. And I think the last one, a tiny one, can go in this corner, I think, like that. And a little gold bow we can add just to one side in that corner, like that. And that is our card finished. Such a pretty card. A nice mixture of colours. The golds and the greens and the pinks. Everything turns together. We've got all the golds from the background and the ribbon and the layers. All the pinks, the greens. And then the inside matches perfectly. Nice and ornate. And it stands up well. Again, it's going to be a mantelpiece pleaser. It's not going to be out in the cold on the windowsill, isn't this one? It will go in an envelope. It might need a little bit of padding, a little bit of extra help in the envelope. If in doubt, if it won't go in the envelope sized for the 6x6, just go up a size. I don't think there's any need for a box for this one. But it's such a pretty card, and as I say, stands up nicely. The inside matches so well with the ornate frame. And it's just another spin on using the products that you've got with your hard-earned cash and making them stretch a little bit further from thinking, oh, I have to use it on a 7x5 card. No, you can use it on a square card. You can adapt it to whatever you're using. So thank you so much for watching. Please click that like button, head on over to my blog, check it out. There's so many more projects, lots of things for you to see. And it just remains for me to say thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.